Okay. Ready? Good evening, everyone. I invite you to please take your seats and we'll be getting started. My name is Chris Mercado. I'm with the Baltimore County Public Schools Office of Strategic Planning. I'd like to start with a few housekeeping tips, if I may. First of all, please notice the exits that you came in on. We invited everyone to please sign in the event of an emergency that we have to evacuate for some reason, or such as the fire alarm sounding. We'll ask you to please walk to your nearest exit. We then convene out in the courtyard, out in the parking lot, and check our sign-in sheets for notes to make sure that we're all accounted for. You need the restrooms. Restrooms are out to the front doors to your left through the first set of double doors. Our restrooms this evening. All the materials here tonight are or will be available on our website. Our website is located through www.bcps.org. You go to the resources button at the very bottom of the page. You can there find a link to the Hampton Elementary School Emergency Capacity Relief Boundary Study. There are also our survey kicks off tonight. We encourage everyone to, the survey runs tonight through the 29th at midnight, May 29th. There are survey cards. You can take the website, you can take the survey on the website. We also have some survey cards with QR codes that you can scan and hand those out to your neighbors. We have those available this evening. If you'd like to take the survey here, we'll have some computers set up over by the windows. If you would like to take the survey tonight, the survey can be taken on any internet-capable device, handheld, mobile, PC, Apple, any device with internet connectivity. There is no mask mandate in effect. We ask that you please respect each other's personal preferences for social distancing and mask use. And the format for tonight will be going through a brief presentation and then taking some time around the two map stations in the back to be able to answer some of your questions around the scenarios being proposed. With that, I give you Mr. Paul Taylor from the Office of Strategic Planning.
Thank you, Chris. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this public information session about Hampton Elementary School Emergency Capacity Relief. Next slide. The agenda for this evening. I'm going to introduce some staff members so you're aware of the people who are here that are available to answer your questions. We're going to have a brief presentation to give you an overview of the 4 options that we're going to be presenting this evening. And then we're going to do what we call a gallery walk. The staff will be available at the map, and you can go up to the maps and look at the information and ask any questions that you have. And the most important thing at the end, whether you do it tonight or later on this week, is to put your comments in the survey. We're going to listen to everything you have to say today, but we really want you to put all your comments in the survey document, because that will be a finished report that we'll give to leadership, BCPS, for this process to go forward. So introductions. My name is Paul Taylor. I'm the Director of Strategic Planning for BCPS. And I'll ask the Office of Strategic Planning staff to stand. I'll introduce them. You met Chris Mercado, Melissa Appler, Mike Godfrey. And again, these are the people I'm introducing you to now are people that can answer questions. We also have the principals of the 3 schools involved with this process: Hampton Elementary School, Cromwell Valley, and Pleasant Plains. Will the 3 principals please stand if you're here? Tricia Kaiser, Kathy Thomas, and Joyce Alpert. Thank you for being here. Okay, thank you. The Department of Schools has representation here. Ms. Sharonda Gregory and Steve Bender. We also have the Magnet office represented. Leanne Schubert. And Special Education, Jason Karakowski. and also early childhood, Lisa Dingle. Did I miss any? Oh, transportation. Far away, Janet Teeter. So these are the offices that we invited to be here to answer any questions. They're answering questions about their operations and how these changes might affect. Next slide. A little background about why we're here. The purpose of this boundary study is to provide emergency capacity relief at Hampton Elementary. The schools participating in the process are Hampton Elementary School, Cromwell Valley Regional Magnet School, and Pleasant Plains Elementary School. Once approved, the new boundary will be effective for school year 23-24, this coming August, September. Next slide. A little more background. Hampton Elementary School is projected to be at 116% utilization for next school year, which is a seat deficit of 113 seats. Now, these are the numbers that we had as of October, from September 30th, 2022. That's the official count that the state records. With those numbers and those projections, it is projected to be overcrowded. And I'll give you an understanding of the code we use. The green is good. The yellow is just getting over the number that they should be. Orange means you're in trouble. So in our parlance, anything up to 100% is green. Anything between 100% utilization to 115% over capacity. Anything over 115% overcrowded. Fortunately, we have some schools in a red and dark. The stats that you have on the boards in the back, all this is back there, so you don't have to point and read all the details. But it will have the capacity of the school, it'll have the utilization, projected utilization over the next 10 years, and it also has demographics. So some of the short-term solutions that we have already implemented. We've relocated the 3-year-old preschool program to Jacksonville Elementary School. We've relocated the 4-year-old pre-kindergarten program to West Towson Elementary. And we've provided 4 relocatable classrooms. Slide. The policy and rule that guides the boundary process, Rule 1280. There is an emergency provision that allowed us to do this type of process. We did not have a committee. Those of you who have been involved with boundary process in the past know that we have a big committee, meet regularly, and they come up with these options. That didn't happen. This an emergency, do it very quickly. So share with you that the Office of Strategic Planning provided data to leadership in BCPS. They scrutinized that data. They told us to present these 4 options to the public. So we've numbered these options 1, 2, 3, and 4. The 4 options developed are going to utilize surplus capacity at Cromwell Valley and Pleasant Plains Elementary. I'm going to go over this a couple times. Just as a summary, option 1 and 2 moves 40 students from Hampton to the other schools. Option 3 and 4 move 45 students from Hampton to the other schools. Now again, these counts are estimates. This is based on how many students are there now. As you know, every year that can change. The student movement count are based on, as I said before, September 30th, 2022 actual enrollment. Now the way we organize moving students in a boundary process is we first divide up the area into what we call planning blocks. And those are discrete neighborhoods that in our view is one cohesive unit. We identify them as planning blocks. And then within each planning block, when we change the boundary, we could have 100 planning blocks. We'll move one planning block from one school to the other, et cetera, and that's how the committee typically comes up with a different option. And then as the students move, we recalculate different numbers, demographic, quantity of students, et cetera, figure out how we're doing with changes. So the planning block that we have identified are under consideration to move. I'm going over them so you can see where they are. The planning block 101.2 currently has 22 students. If you know the neighborhood, it's bounded by the Highway 695 on the southwest and Providence Road on the northwest, and Cowpens along the north and east. That's planning block 2. Planning block 231 is 23 students, bounded by 695 along the north, Lock Raven on the west, East Joplin. Planning blocks 209, 210, and 211. Hope you can see this. Far left is 209, the middle one is 210, and the larger one is. You can see that 209, even though it's the smallest one, has the most number of students. 210 has 2 students, 211 only has. Planning block 107, far left, 5 students. Epsom Road is the main road through that planning block on Goucher, near the intersection of Providence. Planning block 109 is the larger one to the right. It's Cromwell Bridge Road through it, northern border toward the west. Providence Road is on the far west, southwest. And then East Joplin is along this highway, Lock Raven. So this is how we did it. We took different planning blocks, each option, and moved different ones to try to create the balance that we needed. So in option 1, we moved planning block 209, 210, and 211, which totaled 18 students from Hampton, Pleasant Plain. That's here. 3 that were really close together. Then the planning block 101.2, there, 22 students moved to Cromwell Valley. Now, to explain how to read these maps, the green area is Hampton's attendance. This orange area is Pleasant Plain. Pink area is Cromwell Valley. So these planning blocks, in fact, we're moving them, not green here, but they're part of Hampton. That's how you read the map. Green planning blocks are in Hampton. Red arrows show moving, supposed to be moving in this through the different. Then go back one more. And again, in this option, you can see the numbers. You see them better when you get back there. The end result of the is 90. You see it? This is. Well, you can look at the back ones and see what the percentage is. The orange just the orange disappears. It's below 115%. I can read the percentage. The percentage goes down next year. It's about 107% once. So you can see that the Can you hear me now? Okay, that's better. Is this better? Okay. All right. Sorry. All right. So the advantage of this option, or what it does, is it gets rid of the orange. It brings the schools down to under 115%, and it's in single digits. So that's the accomplishment of here. And Pleasant Plain still stays in the green. Next option. Right. Demographics in these options shows very, very slight changes to the demographics. What we describe as demographics are the racial composition of the students, and here it's all broken down. And the farms percentage is the last column there. 2. Option 2 moves planning blocks 209, 210, and 211 from Hampton to Pleasant Plains, and 107 and 109 from Hampton to Cromwell Valley. So this is 107, 109, Cromwell Valley, and these three again go over to Pleasant Plains. Then this is the demographics of that option. Option 3, and the results are very similar because if you recall, I said in each option we're either moving 40 or 45 students. So the percentages are pretty much the same, but this shows you which ones they are. So in this option, slightly different. Plan block 211 moves to Pleasant Plains from 230. .231 moves to Pleasant Plains. This is 101.2, moves to Cromwell Valley. And the demographic. The last option, option 4. Again, the percentages are about the same. And the planning block along this way move to Cromwell Valley. This one planning block, 230, moves down, Pleasant Plains. And again, the demographic. All right. So we're going to do the gallery walk. We can go back there and look at the maps, look at the numbers, ask us any questions. We can scrutinize. I promise I can read those. These I can't read. Those I can read. And before we do, I'll be happy to answer any questions about the process. Excuse me? Yeah, I'm going to answer any questions you have. But I wanted to just let you know that that was the next step that we're going to do is the gallery walk. I'll ask some questions right now. You have some. Go ahead. You had your hand up.
An active interest in this, which is sort of unprecedented in my experience at BCPS. So I really want to celebrate her and her commitment to solving a problem. So that's terrific news. But I do have a couple questions. First, the temporary movement of the pre-K and the 3-year-olds, is that a 1-year only movement or is that permanent for the extended future?
It's permanent for now. I mean, the pre-Ks move often, and if that's what they have to do at another time, they will, but there's no plan to change them
So
for now.
for now, it's just 1 year change, but you anticipate it, it will be permanent for the extended future.
It's intended to not move again.
Okay,
That's the
gotcha.
intention.
The other question is, what is the rationale for not making Cromwell Valley a neighborhood school when we have an overcrowded complete district, a whole area that's overcrowded, and yet we're bringing children in from other remote parts of the county? I don't want to deny them an opportunity to go to a magnet school, but why would they have a magnet school here when especially the original mandate for Cromwell Valley, which was to focus on technology, is now universal across all of Baltimore County public schools? And then the last thing is, did I hear you correctly that we're using numbers from September 30th of 2022 here for this discussion?
Correct.
Because we know that we've already way surpassed those numbers. And I know BCPS used to update numbers on a regular basis, and for some reason in the past few years has stopped doing that. So I just want to get some clarity about what numbers we should be using here.
I can't answer the question about Cromwell program. I don't know if anybody else can.
So Cromwell Valley several years ago was technology. Actually, Ms. Thomas and I have spoken about what's on the side of the building. Along with the Chatsworth School, they're currently a STEAM school. So they have a focus on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics with focus on computational thinking. So it is different than the technology program at other elementaries. It is a STEAM magnet school, not a technology magnet school. In terms of the boundary, I defer to our strategic planning partners. Cromwell currently has a small Walker boundary within their zone, and the remainder of the students do apply.
Thank you, Leanne. You want to add to that? All right, I wanted to answer his last question. Okay. The numbers that we have are the most accurate numbers that we have right now. They're estimates. We use the September 30th, 2022. That's the official numbers that we have. Couple things. One is I'm going to ask any more questions to come up and use the mic because we're trying to record this and we want to capture everything everyone says. So if we had a question here as well, I'm not going to forget. All right. So if I can implore you to please come up when you have something to say, but we can record this. We're recording this for the record. We're not trying to ignore anything anyone says. And I apologize, I wasn't clear about the numbers. The numbers that I was talking about are the planning block numbers. We have no argument with the fact that Hampton Elementary School numbers are way beyond what was projected. That's why we're here.
So my other question was about the selection process or the decision process. Does that happen after the community does the survey, or is it like a vote? Is that technically what the survey is?
Yeah, the survey that is done, it'll be collected electronically. A report will be done. We'll provide that to leadership and BCPS. And then ultimately the superintendent will use that information as part of his deliberation to make a recommendation.
I mean, what is the justification for that when it's so well, better school, now you're going to disrespect the Pleasant Plains, but it's worse school. So are they going to teach down to the students from coming? I mean, last year, I said, if you look at schools,
You asked a question. I can't comment about the ratings of the schools. The numbers that we are moving are strictly about moving numbers. And it's up to the leadership of BCPS to make the final decision. But they want, we're trying to balance out enrollment. But the reason we're having this session is so that all of you can decide if you think these are a good idea or a bad idea. For whatever reason, then you put that information in the survey and we'll provide that to leadership.
Hi. I know you won't. We're buddies. We're buddies because this is my third boundary study, I think, since we've been a BCPS family since 2017. So 5 years, 3 studies. You do that math. It's not great. My question is really related to how the schools were selected to participate in this particular study. The one I happen to have the unique perspective of having been on the committee for the PPS study that happened in 2019, and I was just on the one for the Northeast boundary. And the complaint we got on that one was there's too many schools involved, it's too complicated, there's so many neighborhoods and nobody understands. But then I think the other side of that coin is when you only involve 1 or 2 schools that have a little tiny bit of room, you end up in the exact position that we're in, which is a position that I raised during that committee meeting, that Pleasant Plains was way over capacity, but Hampton was pretty close to it. And so by my calculations, even using the numbers on BCPS's own website, there's only 56 open seats between Cromwell Valley and Pleasant Plains. And Hampton, using those same numbers, is over by 103. So that's still 47 kids that are over capacity. And then you look at nearby West Towson Elementary, it has a state rated capacity of 480 and an enrollment of 382. So that's 98 seats. Stoneleigh has a 700 enrollment with 36 seats blank available. And Riderwood has 440 with 395, so that's 45. So that's 179 seats in the neighborhoods that border these other zones that are not even in this discussion, and I just want to know why.
The options that were provided to us are the ones that we're showing you. However, if you have other ideas or other thoughts of what should change, that's why we're doing this. That's why we have the survey. You can put your suggestions in the survey. The survey is a tool that allows you to write, I don't know how many words, a whole essay about things that you want to share. And all of that stuff is going to be shared with the leadership of BCPS. For the purposes of process, they just decided, let's just provide these 4 options to start the conversation, and then they can provide other input. Yeah, the other part, the first part of your question had to do with the schools that were selected. The idea was to select schools that were going to be under capacity, or at least close to it, and not be over capacity in the far future. There are a number of schools that surround Hampton that are projected to be overcrowded, and those schools were not identified as potential for taking the students.
Thanks. I'm a Hampton parent. I'm also a BCPS teacher of 24 years. And I'm upset. Because I do a lot for the kids in this county, and I feel that the county is failing my family and neighborhood. How can our neighborhood be in one planning block for the middle school, but a different planning block for the purposes of this study? So, like, you did divide our neighborhood in half, even though it stated. So for middle school, we're in one block, and for this study, our neighborhood gets split. We are off Cowpens and so it's one neighborhood and then one little sliver cut off and called the planning block in this study. But we are also going through, we have no idea where our kids are going to go to middle school because we're in another boundary study right now. But in that boundary study, we are one neighborhood because we are. And then in these purposes, we are slivered off and are a different. And my other question for that also, are rising 5th graders remaining at Hampton? Like, if I have a 4th rising 5th grader, because in our neighborhood that was slivered off, we have 8. So if we're able to remain at Hampton, we're not leaving or making our kids move. So your numbers go from 40 to 32. I think that's really important.
So the first part of your question had to do with the planning block being split, correct? All right. So again, we gave the data to leadership. We analyzed and tried to find the right number of students that could move without training other schools to be overcrowded. If you disagree with the way these planning blocks are laid out, that's part of the feedback that we need, that we want. So we are really just crunching numbers for the most part. We have some understanding of these neighborhoods, but if we really knew everything, we wouldn't even have this session. The whole purpose of the session is that people who really understand the schools and understand the communities, so we can get your feedback. So we absolutely want that. All right. I can't tell you what happened 3 years ago. I wasn't here. I'm listening to you now. The second part of your question had to do with, yes, special permission transfer still is effective, is allowed to be used in this process as well. Mm-hmm.
Are those numbers, like for our neighborhood, I think 22 students, are those students currently enrolled at Hampton, or are those all of the students that are K to 5 age in our neighborhood? Okay, all right, thank you.
Just so it's on a record, yeah, they're all Hampton students. Hope I'm not missing anybody who raised their hand that I missed.
Thanks. My name is Jason Barker. I'm also from the Chatterley area. I'll restate the question that was stated twice with regard to consideration of West Towson and Stoneleigh. We have planning blocks. I have one map to show adjacent areas to the schools that aren't even being considered as part of this study, some of which to me that seems quite obvious that considered resized or your planning block reconsidered. I'm curious what criteria you're using to define the planning blocks. Last two commenters just stated it's very obvious you're building donut holes in the Hampton Elementary and out of part of the chat neighborhood. So it's unclear to me like you're using roads, what defines, what are the definitions you're using, and whether or not it would be more prudent to have a community session to help you define these planning blocks or developing the map. Thank you.
These planning blocks were actually created years ago when we did the Pleasant Plains boundary study. And whenever we do a boundary study, the first meeting we have is to set the planning block. And we share it with the community and the committee who's there, and they help us define the planning block. We take the first cut at it, and then they define them. So this is what maybe a different group of community people define as the planning block. We just use the same ones. And with regard to including any other school, if you think other schools should be considered, please put that in your comment.
So, yes, we think other schools should be considered because it seems pretty obvious that there's some missing considerations here. Secondly, certainly we'd offer that the planning blocks should be reconsidered. If these are stale data and stale planning blocks, it seems to me at the outset you don't have a good concept of what the neighborhoods are, what the natural boundaries are, what continuity means, and those are criteria that must be considered for redistricting under BCPS Rule 12.
So again, if you have suggestions for how they should change, please do the survey and put it in your comment.
Just a follow-up question to that. So the planning block map, these numbers I'm assuming have been updated, like based on current numbers, the student numbers. Do you have you updated the planning block map for this area? It hasn't, this map that we have, the only one that the office could send me per the lawyer was 2019 or 2020 after the boundary study was put into place. So we want to see what are the numbers? Where do these kids all live? What are the options? And it's just like, it feels like we're not being transparent enough. Even these maps back here don't have street names on them. That's like upsetting. It's like, we need to be transparent. I would ask Mr. Taylor, that you include on the website. I appreciate all of this being on the website. Can we also include the close-up of the different, each planning block, so that parents can, it's transparent and they can see what streets are we actually talking about? Because all we have is 695, really, like, and around it. You can't see. I know, because I've been researching this for 4 months and I have the map, but not everybody has that. I also just want to say, with regards to numbers, because I have been working on this, I'm Hampton's PTA president, and I just want to thank all of my teachers for being here and all of you for caring about our schools, because it's about our schools and it's about our kids. All of these are great schools. They all have great teachers, and if you don't feel that way, get involved in your school. But let me just say that the numbers, and I've learned a lot of this from being at board meetings with Ms. Pumphrey and Ms. Dominowski and many others, they are these numbers are based on 5-year projections. So they are only allocating certain numbers of students, this is from Dr. Yarborough, because they are not letting us send more students than the school will be able to handle in 5 years. So that is why the numbers don't match specifically what we are seeing right now, or at least that's what has been told to me, which helps me to understand a little bit. But I think we can all say that if there's only 22 students in that little planning block by Stoneleigh, they can go to Stoneleigh, and we could spread this out to more schools, and just give all of our kids a better opportunity.
Hopefully that's recorded. The entire presentation is going to be on the website. Did I miss your question, ma'am? Yeah. Oh, I understand your question. We don't automatically have the data. We have to research it and grab it. So once it was determined that there was consideration to move students that are at Hampton to these other schools, we then went and got the numbers and put it on those planning blocks. We have thousands of planning blocks throughout the county. Every year we don't update those numbers. We just update them when the need occurs. No, we just updated the ones that were under consideration. That's the only ones we updated.
Just clarification. So you're asking us to provide feedback on the survey. The next steps say that they're going to be submitted to the Board of Education. So if we're all asking for other schools to be considered in the option, will those options be able to be drawn up and looked at as choices before the board meeting? Does my question make sense?
Yeah, I'm going to give you a little bit long answer to that. Process. The normal process, many of you know, we have a committee. It takes a year. And we get everybody together and we go through options, we go through data, and we have meeting after meeting after meeting. And then they have the public information session, we have more meetings. And then they identify the options and they narrow it down and ultimately goes to the board. We didn't have a committee. So this is the first time that this is even being considered in the public forum. First idea is just thrown out there. What's going to happen next in terms of the process is going to go back to leadership. The superintendent and whoever he designates is going to analyze the information, the feedback that comes from this session, and they'll decide what to do. I can't predict what the superintendent will decide to do. All I know is that that's the process that we've created in this emergency situation. It's extremely truncated.
Now, when you look at the slide, you see planning block 208, 12 students, planning block 210, 23 students, planning block 211, 22 students. I would think that this is one of those skewed things where it wants to make you believe that 23 students from this block will be allocated, 22 students from that block will be allocated, when in whole, our whole apartment complex will be allocated to another school and not just 23 students. Am I correct in saying that?
Where is your apartment complex? Where is your apartment complex? Okay. Bring that up, Chris. Yeah. All right. What street is your apartment complex on? All right. I believe by the street name that you mentioned, I believe it's 231, and the count is 23 students going to Hampton in that area. Why don't you show me? All right. Why don't we, when we do the gallery walk, let's focus on yours. We'll look at the maps. We'll figure out where they were and see what we have to change.
My name is Jason Garber. My kids go to Cromwell Valley. Did have a daughter that went to Pleasant Plains, and then she moved over to Cromwell Valley. Now I got two other kids at Cromwell Valley as well, the PTO president. I have been a part of these overcrowding fights for 12 years, all within the Towson area. I've heard this time and time again, and I see the same problems time and time again. For one thing, when you talk about moving planning block, the 2 students here, 11 students there, it never works out that it's the minimum number in any way, shape, or form. When Pleasant Plains was redistricted, look what happened to Hampton 2 years later. I mean, they just exploded. And it was far more than what was redistricted that is out of Pleasant Plains over there. So when we talk about moving students around, we're not, and I think in some part it's also because apartment complexes are caught up in some of these plans, because apartment complexes have more transitory residents, so you're going to have people that are going to bring families in, so you can't project those numbers out. So that's part of the problem. It's always apartment complexes are moving, and you can't get the same sort of stability in terms of the numbers. And it's not a reflection upon who's living there. Just a matter of fact, it's just more transient relative to single-family housing, unfortunately, or duplex or townhouses. Now, moving on from that, you also create a system of haves and have-nots that way, too. Because when you start talking about moving people that may not have the same level of investment, you're not going to see those people here as much. And finally, the last point is, I think you do have to consider, some of the points raised over here were really good ones, that there are other schools here to consider, right? Cromwell Valley, there's only so much you can do at Cromwell Valley. It's a small school relative to other schools. Hampton was lucky to get the renovation and addition, although their common areas were not updated. But Cromwell Valley is small and have the same problems, and then you're going to put a whole bunch of more students in there. I could easily foresee right now the trailers that are then going to appear out in the back and on the side of Cromwell Valley. Pleasant Plains has already had that. There are so many trailers there, you can actually call it a country music festival. So, right. So at the end of this, there needs to be actual serious thought about how we're going to do this, not just in a short term. There has to be actual long-term planning here. And I appreciate the fact that there's an emergency meeting for this, but this is the same problem for the last 12 years at least. And I know that there was a boundary study in 2007 before that. So, I mean, this is an ongoing problem that has never been solved. There's no desire, it seems, to solve the problem. It's just a musical chairs. We're going to shuffle students from one area to another, to another, to another, until one area complains, and we'll send them somewhere else. And that's the way it's been. And we need to do something more than that. We are letting down way too many teachers, staff members, administration, families, children. It has been an ongoing problem, and it's time that that's solved.
You have a question.
Hello, my name is David San. I live in Greenbrier, and I have two grown adult children. One went to Cromwell Valley, one went to Pleasant Plains. Both had great education. But I have a suggestion, and that is, and I made the suggestion to the Board of Board of Education, and to our county councilman, Mike Hertel, and that is, as has been brought up by a number of folks, we need another school. Now, we all know that there's no land in Towson to build schools, but there are schools that have been repurposed to other things. And the obvious selection is by Coda in Towson, the senior complex. It was built as a school, Towson Elementary School. It ran as a school, it's in good condition, it has a gym, it has a cafeteria, it has fields across the street, it has parking. It could easily be repurposed back to a school. Senior uses can go anywhere. That's my suggestion. Somebody's got to have the guts to do it, though.
Thanks for your suggestion. I'm going to remind everybody again, please put your suggestions, your thoughts, your comments, your concerns, your complaints, your anything, good or bad, in the survey online. That's going to be the document that captures all this. And we're almost out of time.
I'll be short. My question here is why now? Because I spoke in January to the board. Jesse spoke with me, and we presented this. And we've been speaking. Julie's been speaking. My daughter spoke. I brought up these concerns. Every meeting, we have had Hampton parents there speaking, talking about. Now it just feels so rushed. We weren't able to do this, and we're sending these kids that we love, that are a part of our community, away and back to where they came from, and whiplash. And like we've already stated, a lot of schools aren't being considered that could be considered, and we still have 300 person limit in our cafeteria and in our gym. And so doing this is still not going to solve that for us. We're still going to have kids going to lunch from and we have our teachers who are working super hard with classrooms that are way overcrowded. And I can say that because I've walked in there, I volunteer, I help out. But these teachers are all here because they care, because they want that, and because they still show up despite the fact that this has been an incredibly hard year. And I am super impressed, and I have so much respect.
All right, we're going to take 2 more questions, and we're supposed to do the gallery walk, so I'm going to leave at least 5 minutes for that.
It's just something quick, because I went to Cromwell when it first opened. I started first grade. We moved. We're in the Pleasant Plains area, but no offense, Pleasant Plains, we are now subjected to Immaculate Heart because of just the reputation of Pleasant Plains. So us going into a lottery for Cromwell in November, we're now in limbo, starting to pay for tuition that's starting next year. We started paying on Friday. So it's just like, when are we going to find out anything? Because I'd rather not pay. Me and my husband would rather not pay tuition when there's a beautiful school and a great school that applied, hoping for.
Are you talking about the magnet? Hold on.
So our wait list for all of our magnets elementary, middle, and high, are open through the last day of Q1 next school year. As seats are offered, parent accepts the seat, please. Parent doesn't accept, move to the next number on the. Seats open up, we up. No, they are two separate entities. The wait list is on this.
One more question. And we're still here if you still want to talk to us one-on-one. And please, if you have any comments, suggestions, put it in the survey, please.
And that's exactly what I want to talk about. You keep telling us to put it in the survey. Can you tell us the process of what happens once the survey is reviewed? Who reviews it? Which departments or which people in BCPS review it? And what kind of impact does that have on these planning blocks and what's already been presented to us? Because there are 15 days left of the school year, and I'm concerned that not a lot can be changed from these just from the feedback that is put into the survey. I'm concerned that the decision's already in someone's mind. It's just, you're just telling us, okay, go ahead and put the information in there, we'll look at it. But I'm concerned that there's already a decision that's being leaned towards of these four. Because that's what happened last time.
I can tell you I'm aware of no decision has been made. My office has the job of implementing the decision. So we have not been told that there's any decisions. The only thing we've been told is go to the public with these possible options and see what happens. I can't tell you what the decision is going to be. I'm absolutely certain that all this information is going to be considered. That's what I was. We are reporting this to the deputy superintendent. She was the one that has been involved with this. We'll give the report to her. And then she'll decide what has to happen in consultation with the superintendent. I don't, I only know what the rule says. The rule says the superintendent has the role of making a recommendation to the board. I don't know if the superintendent is going to have a group or a committee. I don't know. I can't speak for them. It depends how fast they want to move. It's possible. We already have a date, plug-in date of June 13th. Right. That's what we have. Yeah, we have a hold on that date to put in a recommendation. I cannot speak for the superintendent of what he's going to decide, but that was the instructions we were given to bring this to the public, get feedback, and then give that feedback back to them. I can't speak for what the superintendent or his group will do. I just know I have to submit it to them.
I would like to request that they read the comments. If you're telling us to put everything in these comments and put everything in the survey, I'd like to request that the decision makers read the comments.
Yeah, we're trying to do, if the answer to your question is yes. We're trying to do this as close to the normal process as possible, even though we only had a month to do it. But again, we are going to make the report, put it together like we always do, put it on the website, and even when we do a regular boundary process, the recommendation of the committee goes to the superintendent. Superintendent decides what goes after that. I'm going to have to end the session for time. But the staff will be here if you still have questions. And if you have comments, I'm going to say it again, please put it into the survey so that information can be documented and is for the record. Thank you all for coming.